Well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good night, wherever you are in the world watching live or listening to this recording. Welcome to Social Confoes, a brand new edition. I'm here today with my co-host Diego. I'm Shaluk Fashalanta, and we're gonna talk a lot about startups, tech, and of course Latin America.
Have
Diego, what's up?
Have you been practicing that?
No, no, no. I just
Well,
came in. I just came in happy today. I don't know why. I came in happy today, so I'm in a good mood.
yeah, that
Yeah,
was smooth opening, man. Smooth
yeah,
opening. I think you
yeah.
can take over again. But
Nah.
yeah, the weather is finally, nicer this week. We got some sunshine. Although it was cold this morning, I actually had to run back to my hotel to grab my jacket because halfway on crossing a bridge, like I was freezing. And yeah.
We don't necessarily know the layered stuff, but I think we can get into that with our guest as well. But there's a layer secret for people that live in colder countries that we, as people from warm climates, aren't always accustomed to. So we're gonna talk a little bit about that today
Yeah,
as well.
speaking of warm climates, today actually we have someone from originally from Honduras, and I think you can bring him up. And he's actually a few floors above me right now in his room. It's Mario Escoto Damas. That's the full name, right, Mario? Welcome to Social
That's
Confoes.
that's correct, and thank you so much, guys, for the invitation to be here in your podcast. And that's accurate. My name is Mario Escoto Damas.
Yeah, so for
So
some context,
yeah, go ahead,
we're basically
Diego.
both here in Portland, Oregon, United States, for the Wildlife Program, the Young Leaders of America's initiative. And yeah, it was actually Mario. I think, was it the first week or the second week? I told you someone joined in from the chat on YouTube. It was Mario also joining, like, hey, well, let's do the podcast, and here we are, a week
Awesome.
later.
So I thought you were gonna go into his name because it is Escoto Damas, and we want to know is that something like because some countries you have both your parents' names, or it stays, or is it
Yeah,
something similar as that as well?
yeah. This my first name Mario, and
Yeah,
my two last name is Coto Damas. And so in the U.S. or in Canada, normally they call me Mario Damas just because it's like normal only naming the people for only one of the last names. But
yeah.
in Latin America, we normally use the full name. So
So
yeah,
Escoto is your mom's or your dad's name?
my dad's last name and Damas
Damas
is
is
for my mom's last
okay.
name.
So is that always
Yeah,
the order? The first last name is from the
yeah.
father.
From
Yeah,
exact for the first last name is for from your dad, and the second last name is from your mom. That's how it works in our countries. How about in Suriname?
yeah. We just use
Your last
the
name.
last
Yeah.
name. So I only have one last name. So funny thing is, I actually have two middle names, and for a lot of the registration here, they actually use my middle name as my last name because they expected Spanish, I think, from Latin America.
Yeah,
So oftentimes, when we went to the medical center, it was registered to my second middle name instead of my last name.
If they
yeah.
did that with me, I would become Chinese.
A lot of special characters and things.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, but
So,
yeah, yeah. Go ahead, Gianluca.
I'm one of the things that I was curious about is you're from Honduras, and I'm trying to figure out because we have like the Caribbean, and we consider the Caribbean.
Yep.
The funny thing about Suriname is we're not an island, but we're still considered part of the Caribbean, and Honduras is kind of Middle America. But I feel like there is no yeah we're Middle America. There's more like we are Latin America. So who is part of Latin America? Is it just the Spanish speaking countries, all the Spanish speaking countries from the middle and the south?
Exactly. That's something that really, how can I express this? Amazed me about when I met Diego and other people here that are from Suriname. because it wasn't on my radar, to be honest. A country that speaks Dutch in Latin America. I mean, that was really curious. I wasn't like ready to understand that we had in Latin America a country named Suriname that speaks Dutch, another country that it's near you that speaks French. I mean, uh, because overall in Latin America we all speak Spanish, and Brazil, which is the largest country uh, after Mexico, is the
Portuguese.
Portuguese.
Yeah.
So, but essentially, in as we are considered the belly of America, because we are in the center. Honduras is a small, tiny country in the middle of everything, you know. But normally, as people, we tend to think about Latin America like that a whole thing that we all speak Spanish, and we don't realize that there are other languages, other cultures around there. But it was really interesting to meet Diego and know about your country and your culture.
Okay. So you knew about Brazil, of course. Did you know about Guyana, Suriname, and French Guyana
That was,
before?
I mean,
Yeah.
I heard about it because of the football, Guyana, and the islands as well. But I wasn't like pretty sure where was this country located. I thought it was like a archipelago or an island somewhere in the Pacific. But then I realized it is in South America. So yes, I was a little bit lost at the beginning.
Yeah, the other thing is like although we are on the continent of South America, the continent of South America, we're kind of also grouped into the Caribbean, and our passport is also part of the Caribbean community. So that's the interesting thing I think about the our positioning. It's very special, for
Yes,
lack of a
very.
better word. But to pivot back to, I guess, the topic of today, talking about business. As Mario told me, so he's running multiple companies. He can tell us a bit about it himself, and
Oh
it's
yeah.
it's been a family thing for over 40 years now. So can you give us a brief breakdown on how those companies started and what your role is there now?
For sure. Yes, my pleasure. My name, as I told you, is Mario Scotto Damas, and I come from an entrepreneurial family. I am an entrepreneur, me myself. I was born in the middle of my family who has been in this entrepreneurial world since almost more than 45 years ago. So my parents started a business about manufacturing of conveyor belts and automation systems. And the company has been growing since then, and that has allowed us as an entrepreneurial family to open other businesses not related to the industry, but for example, in real estate, hotels, luxury vacations, accommodations, and also selling properties like housing, apartments, etc. And also IT and also supply chain management company. So we have been growing as an entrepreneurial family that had very humble beginnings, but my parents had the visions to had some financial freedom at some point and offer us a better future. So I was lucky that my parents were very entrepreneurial and had this vision almost more than 40 years ago. And we have been in this transition now that my parents are about to retire, but they don't really want to retire. But we have been in this transition of the succession of of the businesses. So I am now leading the second generation of our family operated company group, and one of the things that we have been uh, developing and improving over the last few years is a family protocol, which is a exhaustive document and a manual that tells all the family members how we should manage the succession and how this have to be done in a correct manner. So yeah, we have been working hard so
So
we can make this switch
so
successfully.
when you mentioned the family plan, everybody, so can how big is the family? Like when you say family, what do you mean?
Yeah, we are more than I will say in the company directly like 35 people, but the family is much bigger. Yeah, but the core
That's yeah.
the core business, I mean the administration and the financing and the core decisions are made by 10 people, which I am part of that of those people that made decisions within the company. You know that. So my parents, my siblings, and my sisters, and yeah, we're essentially a very productive team that are taking decisions of how we have to move forward with the businesses. And we have some external people working in the company, not family members. Because in the family, sometimes you can have people that have talent and several skills, but sometimes you need to look outside of your family for talent too. So we do have a lot of employees that are not family related at all. But
So
uh,
let's put it into context because I got excited, very excited when Diego told me about today. Because
yeah,
at the moment there's an oil and gas summit, the Suriname Energy Oil and Gas Summit, going on in
yeah,
Suriname. And of course, it's interesting because you would have interest with your family business to stand there to be, of course, delivering your products to some of these bigger companies,
yeah,
but also because we partnered together with all our family businesses to join together in one booth. And it's
yeah,
kind of weird because most people know the businesses separately or know my business personally, and they come to the booth where I'm also in. And it's not a booth of our company, but it's a booth of a group with other companies that they're less familiar with. But the first company also comes from the early 80s, 40 plus years ago. So it's a very interesting story. I don't have a family quite as big as you do.
yeah.
Uh,
But
so
someday,
that's a lesson for me. Make more children so that the family process goes bigger. But I do have a question, a couple of questions. And the first is, what's the biggest benefit, but also the biggest downside from being second generation?
yeah, that's a topic that is very wide because you know we are in the middle of a transition where the decisions are still made, the final decisions are still made by the old ones, okay, by people that started businesses. And they're overseeing the entire operations, no matter who I am. Where I am currently leading, I am the director and advisor of our company in Honduras, and I also that's a different story, but I think it's related because I immigrated to Canada as an entrepreneur as a part of a strategy to grow our businesses in North America. So I eventually had the opportunity to immigrate to Canada, and I grow in our family business into North America. In Honduras, we already have like the biggest market share, but what I want to tell you is that being a second generation, it's a bit of challenging because you have to work along with the as with people that is shaped as in the old school. They have their own belief. They have their own how can I tell you? I mean, in regard of taking decisions and also business styles. They have their own styles of managing people. They have their own styles of doing things. And we as young leaders or young people, we have different ways to using technology and blah blah blah. So we are more like technology driven, and we tend to shortcut a lot of things that we think that are not appropriate, and the old people, my parents or my uh, other family members that are taking decisions, they think that perhaps that's not the correct way. So it's a little bit challenging being like arguing who is right, who is not right. So it's also interesting to have both points of view about how we should manage the company, the old school and all the how I can tell you the traditional way of managing a company, or the innovative way, the millennial way, or the Generation X way, which is the new trend as of current. So it's a little bit interesting being in the middle of everything, trying to convince others that my way of management is effective and their way of management might be like a little bit
Outdated.
exactly.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, and I believe a friend of mine told me once, don't ever have a family business because that's gonna make you crazy. But I mean, we all love each other and we all enjoy our time at the company. Sometimes we bring business topics to the table while we are enjoying a weekend. Sometimes we don't leave the problems of the business at the business. We bring it to our homes. And that's the way that we have been growing across the years. I mean, it's like a normal thing in our family. We tend to involve the business in all our like in parties, when we have dinner, when we have lunch, then we are talking about what happened in the company, about the business, about what are we going to do. I mean, that's a crazy thing too, but
But
that
that
is
does have its advantage, right? Because
huh?
it means you, I mean, it has a disadvantage, but it also has a big advantage because when you talk about business
Yeah,
and family, quality family time and private time, you work on your business a lot more than if you don't have it. So it does give you a step ahead against your competitors a little
ex-
bit. So yeah,
yeah,
it's I
I
think it's
mean,
positive.
yeah, it has some positive, I mean, because what can I tell you, that's what I have, that is my reality and our reality as a company operated company, sorry, as a family operated company. So that is what I know, uh, how it works in my own environment. So I cannot tell you about other companies that are not family operated, but
I,
I mean
I
I
I have a question on that part. Yeah, so you have the context of family operated, and in this program, from what you told me, you're also in a big company now, like global company, and you've been in meetings and you had the same debate on old generation versus new generation, but that company isn't necessarily like family related. So, what can you tell us about those observations or things that you've noticed if you compare it back to how your business is like family run?
Well, yes, in this program where we are with Diego here in Portland, we have been placed in several companies. I myself, I was placed in a big manufacturing company. They manufacture trucks, so they placed me in this company to learn more about how they take decisions, how a big corporation take decisions, and how they administer the supply chain. I have been in several meetings within this company with the directors, and they are taking decisions about, for example, last week it was about how should they keep doing their job remotely or back in person. So that was very interesting, and I even have to make an inform about it because it happens that as the most of the company now is very young, so they are turning everything. The final decision was that everything was going to be remotely. Their work was going to be done remotely. I mean, the part of the supply chain, purchase, procurement, that's going to be remotely. But the old people were, I mean, the old directors in the company were like, no, we want these people back. We have a beautiful building. Nobody is taking advantage of these beautiful offices. We want them back. So, but there's no need to get to make these people get back if they can do their job from online or you know.
No, but this is interesting because a young no. I had this similar discussion with one of the companies that we run. as a family, because the older generation will say like, listen, we're missing out, because basically you rent out the space, so we're missing rent, we have open spaces, people should come back to work. And like a newer style management is like, wait a minute, if there's an empty office, we can just rent it out to another company, because our team members are not no longer coming in, so let's that part of the that part of the building, let's just rent it out to another company if they want to rent it, and then we have some extra income. So
Exactly.
it's a different way of thinking. And
Exactly.
this brings me does bring me to a more maybe personal question, in the sense of, with the second generation being there and you being part of a big family, how big is the percentage of people, young people like yourself, that study, go out and study, and even maybe go study abroad and come back to be part of the family business? And how big is the percentage of people who go and study abroad and decide, you know what, the family is big enough, I don't have to come back to the family business? And of course, the follow up question is, um, does it matter what they go and study, whether or not they come back into the family business or not?
All right, that's an interesting question, and that's looking in perspective. I can tell you that there are several things involved into this end because uh, we have from one side as my parents as entrepreneurs, they were looking to uh, involve us into the business somehow. Oh, they thought, how can I make my children to get interested into the business? How can we make that possible? Because I could end it being a pilot or being a medical doctor or being something else not related to the business, or I could have like other type of interest. And the thing is, it all starts in the childhood. So there are some strategies that consultants use for the process of the transition to a new generation. So it all starts since the childhood, involving the children. Me myself, I had done that, taking them to the company, made them feel how important is the company to achieve our goals. So it all starts since then. So that for obviously made me think since my childhood that I should prepare myself to eventually become a leader into my company. So I can tell you that like a 50%, like the half of the persons that are within the company and are part of the family think since they are very young that eventually they may have an opportunity within our company. So they try to prepare themselves in topics like engineering, accounting, administration, and things like that, because it's very possible, it's something that happens all the time in our family. It's very possible that that first job that they're gonna get is in our company. So they try to like make the effort to study something that will open the doors to our company, and that eventually will open them the doors to jump to other companies if they want to do that. In my case, and in the case of our my siblings, um, we already knew that we eventually had to take care of the company, so we were prepared and we study things that are related or going to be beneficial for the company. For example, I myself study international business management, and that really helped me to create a strategy, expansion strategy of the company. My brother studied engineering because we are supply chain in the manufacturing sector. My sister studied marketing, so the mix of the talents and the skills that we have is at the end really effective. So yeah, that's what I can tell you about it.
It's basically how do you say this? Um, Cultivating a new board or management from childhood. And I can attest to this because the company I'm at is also like family run.
Yeah.
And speaking to the different managers, especially those being there 40 plus years, um, the owners now, and there's actually grandchildren of the owners working there in different departments. And kind of what Mario is describing, it's like the kids are working already within that company, even be it a summer job for just the summer, and are just running one of the departments on their own with a team. So yeah, I can, just as Mario was explaining that, and me thinking back where I'm placed is, yeah, I'm noticing that exact thing happening right there. So it's quite interesting to hear. But to follow that up real quick on the succession planning, you briefly mentioned you did international business, and in the beginning, you also mentioned you moving to Canada.
Yeah.
So, how did that, I guess, decision? Because I assume that the company is mainly in Honduras, like all the companies, right?
Hmm.
How did that decision of moving to another country affect
Yeah.
that business? And then we can go a bit into how you got there.
Oh yeah. So the thing is that as we have like in Honduras, we are leading the industry. I mean, our industry. So there's no like more market room for growth in a company. I mean, I'm talking about Honduras, Guatemala, Dominican Republic, Salvador, which are the regional countries. So the the industry, our industry, there is uh, we are leading currently the industry in that specific. I mean, in conveyors, conveyor belts, structures, things like that. So we were thinking that the next step will be to seek more market in North America, Mexico, the U.S., and Canada, because that's like the logical next step for a company that is growing exponentially. So we decided to start a business like an affiliate in the US, which is Nova Beltec. And with pretty much success, we were still manufacturing the majority of the goods in Honduras and also in China, but commercial, we had a commercial office in the US. And then the next step will be jumping to Canada, putting an office in Canada too. Obviously, I was the one that was like more prepared to deal with the installments of these new companies or these new affiliates, making partnership with the local authority, looking for strategic suppliers, and setting the initial steps of a new venture in North America. That was like my homework. I had to do that with a team of people. So for sure that I was like a little bit uh, overwhelmed with a lot of things to deal a part of my regular job in Honduras. So that in the beginning was a little bit challenging. I had to hire some people to help me with management and with taking decisions. My siblings also were taking decisions for me. So I had to build a strategy in order to affect the business the least possible, because a traditional family business, you need to be there to oversee all the operations. If you are not there, then it's going to be a problem. And I had to be away for for a considerable amount of time. So uh, for sure that in the very beginning, it was very challenging. There were some operations affected because I wasn't there in person, but eventually we overcame with solutions, and then the pandemic started, and everything turned virtual. So then we were understanding how to work online since before the pandemic, because all the settlement of the new businesses in North America happened just before the pandemic. I mean, I'm talking about 2018, 2019, 2020, and since then we have been working and growing the businesses in North America.
And in Canada, you Because you're now living in Canada, right? Uh,
Yeah, yeah. So then, after the settlement of our office in the U.S. and started to commercialize our goods in the U.S., I personally found out that there were some programs in Canada that support new business concepts. I realized while I was in the US that we needed to adapt our business model to the North American market. So the traditional business that we had in Honduras was not going to work so well in North America because we needed some more technology feature and components. So we needed to change the business model a little bit. And it was crazily expensive to make that switch in the US. So we were looking for a strategy to reduce the costs involved in changing our business model. We find out that some accelerators and incubators in Canada we're helping US startups to establish an office in Canada to get to have a participation in North America overall and go global. So I was interested to learn more about how to make that happen. And I applied to one of the top world class accelerators in Canada with a new business model, proposing a new business model for a company adapted to the North American market. And we were selected to go to Canada and make a market validation process with one of the government designated accelerators. They help us making market research to see if our new business concept will be successful or not in North America. And eventually, we had the opportunity to establish the business in Canada with the help of this accelerator. And they kind of support our business idea to be as a high potential business. So this is how we eventually got the invitation to move to Canada permanently to grow this business concept with the support of one of the government designated accelerators. So there is a program in Canada named the Startup Visa Program that helps entrepreneurs that have some high potential business and with some technology features, mainly companies that has intellectual property and that has technology related businesses can apply. As of current, I think that the program has been uh, accepted 75 companies since 2015 that the program was launched. Sorry, 2012 that the program was launched. So I was lucky to have the support of a world-class accelerator in Toronto that helped us to make a very well established business model to succeed in the North American market. And that way, we had a lot of help from the government, from uh, mentors, from other people that are in the technology sector, so we can we could like take advantage of all this support that we were having to build our strategy and to eventually being invited to establish our business in Canada with no the worries of our immigration status. So that was we were very lucky, and also we were very dedicated to like we wanted to succeed. We have to do whatever it takes, and we have to work hard in order to achieve that. So that was like a collateral effect of our entrepreneurial spirit. I can tell you that.
I see you thinking hard, John Luke.
Yeah, it's because it's also taking the opportunity, because setting up, because let's start from the beginning, because basically if
Yeah,
you first set up the business in the US, and then the snowball effect came from there. So what's the hardest part about setting up a business in the US compared to Latam?
yeah. The thing is, setting in the business in the U.S. compared to Latin, I mean, starting a business, like registering a business itself, is so easy in the US that anybody can do it, regardless of the citizenship status. So no matter if you are a tourist in the US, you can set your business, you can open a business account, you can do whatever you want. Uh, and as a business owner, you can like start your business by your own. The thing is that in Latin America, it is very difficult. I mean, I'm talking like in general terms. In my country, Honduras, and in the nearby countries, if you want to register one company, you have to go in person to one place to make a big line, like 3 4 hours, wait for someone to take your papers, and maybe wait 1 or 2 weeks to get a resolution if your company is or not incorporated or is not going to be accepted. So in the US or in Canada, it's a very straightforward process. You apply online, you put all your documents online, you just submit your application, you're going to receive a response within 24 to 48 hours. So you know that there is a huge difference. This simple example that I'm putting you now, can you can imagine how we are in Latin America, like years away from the North American way of doing businesses. What I mean is that it's much more easier to set a business in North America than in Latin America.
Okay,
They have processes that make it much more easier.
okay,
That's
this is
one
very
part.
interesting.
Yeah. Just to end, that's just one part of starting or registering a company. But the other part of the support that you may receive from local authorities, there is huge difference between the US or Canada or Latin America, because in Latin America we don't have any type of like support for entrepreneurs like that. I mean, there are some programs across the years, some business grants in Latin America that we may take advantage of, but it's not a normal thing. I mean, it's really special when that happens. And in Canada, that is like uh, what normally happens is that the government is really supportive. They really help entrepreneurs. They really want entrepreneurs from Latin America to come and establish businesses. They invest money in these entrepreneurs. That doesn't happen in Latin America.
So,
So
if I'm understanding you correctly, Canada and I guess the US, correct me if I'm wrong, is very government driven to encourage entrepreneurship.
yes, but in the US, you have to pay a considerable amount of money if you want the support of an accelerator that guides you through the process of growing a business. So it is not cheap, it is very expensive. At least that you apply to some kind of fellowship that to be accepted into one of these, because the easiest way to grow a business in North America with the correct guidance is through one accelerator or one incubator. You don't just go to the US and start doing things by yourself, not knowing where to go or what to do. So you have to go through one accelerator. That's the best way. Okay, you can just not go to the US and start doing things randomly, because you're gonna waste your time. You're gonna waste a lot of money. So you want one accelerator or one incubator that guide you through all the process. In the US, it's extremely um, the price is too high. But in Canada, I mean, initially, all these things they did for my company were free of charge. Me, I didn't pay anything to these accelerators. They are non-profit in Canada. In the US, it was so expensive. That's why, after considering all the facts, I took the chance to go to Canada. Then instead of continue doing, trying to grow the business in the US per se, I moved to Canada and started to grow my business from Canada to the US. So it's like a switch, a very like strategically, a lot of companies were doing the same thing, because in Canada they were much more supportive, and a lot of things that you don't have to pay for that in the US you have to pay for as entrepreneurs. So yeah, now it's a topic. Now it's very interesting to make this entrepreneurial. journey in Canada.
Because what I wanted to ask is, in the US, for instance, we have from Suriname a lot of companies that start a business and LLC in Delaware,
Yeah,
specifically in Delaware.
yeah,
And I think I saw that you were based out of Florida.
yeah.
Can you tell us maybe a little bit of a difference between different states? Not necessarily all of them, but like, what's the biggest difference that you feel is there between different states if you would set up a business in the US?
It's all about taxes. It's all about taxes and how you're gonna pay those taxes. So if a company is incorporated in Delaware, which is the normal practice, if you are an international company and you're willing, like you're wanting to not avoid, but to save some cost, related cost to the taxes, then you will incorporate a company in Delaware because that's the state that has like almost 0% of taxes. So you don't pay taxes if you are a Delaware business. You only have to pay one thing that is called the franchise cost. So there's no any related taxes attached to the business. Then, after a company incorporates in Delaware, they can request an extra state permit to operate anywhere else in the US. But the base of all the operations are still in Delaware. So there are a lot of companies that help, uh, like foreign entrepreneurs like us, to do this kind of thing, and they know how. I mean, they know the pathway. They know that entrepreneurs don't want to pay the least taxes as possible. And when the operations of the business are considerable, it's a lot of taxes involved, and if you have the possibility to reduce those costs, then you are gonna take the chance. In terms of differences, I think that California is the state that has the highest tax rate in the U.S. as of current, with Delaware leading the preference between any company from abroad. So yes, that's a very great strategy. It's like the normal pathway. If you go to an accelerator or an incubator in the US, they're going to recommend you for sure incorporate your company in Delaware initially if you want to reduce your initial cost. So yeah, that's a really great strategy. If you incorporate in Florida, you have to pay a considerable amount of taxes, regardless if you are producing revenue or no. You have to pay a yearly tax, even if your company is not producing revenue. So there are some advantages when choosing where to start your business in the US. Yeah.
But you completely moved over to Canada right now. Is Are you still incorporated in the US or not at all?
Yes, we only have a distribution office,
Yeah.
warehouse in the US. Yeah, so all works from China, where we have our manufacturing facilities, where we manufacture all our brands, our conveyors, our rubber, and everything is exported from China to our other manufacturing facility in Honduras. We were the first company in our class to be accepted into a free trade zone in Honduras. So, are from China to our warehouse and manufacturing facility in Honduras, then everything goes to the US to have a stock in the US for the North American
Yeah.
market. But everything is the invoices or where the customer pays everything is to our Honduras branch and to our Canada branch. So everything goes from Honduras or from Canada or from the US, sorry, up to Canada and to the rest of the country. So we have a an infrastructure already in place for the logistics and everything.
That's cool.
So yeah, mhm.
Okay, so
So we
you wanna go first?
no you no you put the intelligent question out there. I'm gonna have some just casual social conversation
Yeah,
after that one.
just one to go full circle. So from the start, started as a conveyor belt manufacturing company. This was the core company that kicked everything off, right?
Exactly.
And this allowed I guess the family to expand, have capital available to invest in other companies. Um, how does the like I guess success or profitability from the companies or the group of companies compared? Is the conveyor business still a majority? How do the other types of businesses fare compared to this?
Yes, yes. The definitely the conveyor belts and spare parts and mechanical parts that we sell are still on the top. That's like the most profitable business, still being the more profitable business because we already have a huge network of customers that and we have agreement with customers, we have contract with customers on a monthly, on a yearly basis that have been working like that since more than 25 years ago. So it's like we have to comply with these contracts, and that's not it different, like for example from one hotel or a different kind of like real estate, that it all depends on the market and have like up and downs and things like that. In our case, with the supply chain and manufacturing of conveyors and all the related parts, we already have like a stability, and we already like know what's gonna meet that consumption of goods for the next year, for example. So we have to prepare all our stock, all our manufacturing in order to comply with all the contracts that we have. So it's like the business that is currently uh, giving us the most of the profit and the most of the revenue, and it's like I think in part of the other company, that's the one that has the better profit rate, because this is a very special or a very specialized industry. So there's no like a lot of company that can do the same thing. So you
It's
need to
hard to
have,
break the market.
yes,
It's really hard to break the market because you've been doing it for so long. So you have an advantage that any new player on the market, they can't compete with that advantage because you're so far ahead. And I think that's something that's really underestimated about bigger companies, especially because we started with the difference between the new management style and the old management style. And there is still a part that because something is kind of it's completely stuck, it's kind of rigid, you can't change it anymore, so you see it as a negative, or maybe not something, but again it's the same structure that is so rigid that kind of it makes it impossible to copy as like a newcomer on a new kid on the block or a competition. So I think that's very interesting to see as well, that there's a reason why companies are there for 40 plus years and they remain as big, because you already have a certain infrastructure,
yeah,
certain contracts, a certain structure internally as well, where you have a consistency that, like, your competitors who just start out, even if they come from abroad and they're big abroad, they come in, they don't have the same benefits, maybe even.
that's competitiveness advantage that definitely plays a positive. I mean, the results of being a pioneer and a leading company within that industry has its advantages. What you mentioned is one of those advantages. Yeah.
Okay, so before Shanlu goes to his fun question, I have more of a personal question on being part of, I guess, a successful business, successful family. Um, you're very humble. So the first time I met you, you're a very chill guy, very humble, very fun, and we briefly talked about value. So can you tell us a bit about growing up, how you got
Yeah.
those values and that your humbleness instilled in you?
Yeah, my parents were born in the countryside, and they dedicated almost the half of their life, their childhood and everything in the countryside, and they have very humble origins. So they were not rich people, my mom and my father and my father, they were people that were normally growing plants and making like this lifestyle. This is where the way they were surviving. So they have very humble childhood and very humble where they were young. They were not rich people too, and also my grandfathers taught them these values and the hard working as well. So they, I think that that definitely played an important role when teaching us about all these values, because it's when I talk about my parents, they're very limited while they were child, having only the basic necessary things to survive, which was what their parents also were able to provide them. So that is totally make a change in how you feel and how you see the life, I think. I was lucky enough to born in the middle of having everything from my parents, but also, I mean, they also try not to put things really easy to us since we were children. Because there is a big difference when you give to children all that they want with no limits, and teaching these children that he needs to do their homework, he needs to be a good girl or a good boy, he needs to comply with something, and that the things really cost. So this is not a thing that um, in nowadays these values are not well taught to our children. And I had the opportunity to have these parents that in their beginnings they had nothing, and they were like growing from the bottom to the top. So they have much life to teach, and they have a lot of good things to give. I mean, they can give us classes about being humble, being chilling, being nice, because they even, I mean, even my parents may be wealthy. They even have friends that are not wealthy. They have friends that live in common houses, that are people that work every day, are people that are not wealthy. They relate with these people. They have friends everywhere, and they have no like these restrictions that only people that are in their same category will relate with them. No, so we are open to make friends, we are open to be nice, we because this our nature. This is what this is, I am the reflect of what my parents taught me. This is how they are too. So I think that that's a lot to be how you are during your childhood and during your when you are young, how your parents really educate you, and the values that they already got from their parents too. So yeah, that's the reason why you find me very friendly, because this is this is me. This is what I know that is acceptable, and this is what I know. This is how I have to be with the others, and this is how I have to, because there are other people that, oh my god, they think that they are like they are so like, I mean, private. They don't like to interact with others. I am the top, so please don't talk me. No, I am not like that.
Awesome. That's actually a great way to close it off. We still have some overrated, underrated for you. But before we get to that part, because we started with Honduras being from Latin America, Honduras is quite close to the equator as well, right?
Ecuador.
No, but also to the equator, to the middle of the center of the world. You're quite
It's no, in Central America. No, it's like a 5 or 6 hour flight. Uh,
so.
it,
So are
It's
you
not
north,
that close. It's
north,
not
it's
that
not that
north
close.
of
close.
Panama? You're north of Panama.
It's the north of Panama. Yes.
Yeah.
So it's this.
So
It's like the south of Mexico.
yeah.
Mhm.
So for us, the weather, because we were just talking about this, and I was talking with Diego about the layering. Like, um, for us, because we're from kind of a Caribbean country,
Yes,
it's
the
okay,
tropics.
it gets cold, I need a jacket or a winter coat or something like that. So basically it's two layers. Like it's my shirt and I put on a coat or a winter jacket and that's it. And then when the temperature changes during the day, we are like we're either the coat's off and it's too cold or the coat on and it's too warm. And people that live in in cold climates, they know about layering. So there are multiple layers. They're like 1 to 4 layers. And depending on what the weather is like, they decide if it's 1, 2, or 3 or 4 layers. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because you went from Honduras to Canada.
Oh yeah.
Um, how did you get used to the change in weather?
Oh yeah, that's crazy because in Honduras we have this tropical weather. I am from the coast in Honduras, in the northern coast, so it's really hot during the most of the year, like 35 to 40 degrees in the media. But in Canada, I mean, Canada is the second largest country in the world, and I live in Ontario, in Kitchener, which is a city very near to Toronto. And the weather there during the 8 months of the year is freezing. Okay, so you have from October it starts to decrease from the autumn. It starts to decrease the temperature. Then in December you have some snow, and then in January, February, March it's totally white outside. So we have tons of snow in Ontario during the winter. It's crazy because I still trying to adapt myself because outside during the peaks, like in February, it's minus 35 degrees Celsius. So if you go outside with like wearing this, you're gonna get freeze right away. Or when you start to breathe, your lungs are gonna. I mean, it's crazy. So you have to. It's in during winter. It's a topic that you have to wear boots. You have to wear special jackets that are built for minus 40 degrees Celsius, special pants and everything. And if you don't have a car, you're gonna suffer a lot. If you're gonna use the public transportation, you're gonna suffer a lot. I mean, you need to protect with special gloves and everything. So it's crazy. But for example, in British Columbia, which is another province in Canada, it's the weather during the winter. It's much better than in Ontario because there's almost no snow in British Columbia. In Vancouver, for example, which is a city north from where we are now, north from here, which is in the Pacific, they almost don't have any snow. So we have in Canada these two two type of weathers that when it's winter you have minus 35 minus 40 degrees in outside of Canada, but in the same time in British Columbia, which is in the other side, you don't have snow. So it's really crazy because as I told you, Canada is so huge. My daughters that are now almost what 2 years living in Canada, they are more like getting these changes. They are more like getting all with this weather and everything. So they're because they are kids, but for us as adults arriving in Canada, new weather, new everything, it's a little more difficult.
Thank you for sharing that, Diego. I guess we have a little bit time to do maybe two over unders
Uh,
each.
yeah, that's the one each.
The one
You,
each. Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. So Mario, I'm not sure if you're aware with our over under segment, but basically we bring up a topic and you decide whether or not you find it overrated or underrated. And Diego is gonna go first, I guess.
What? Uh,
Okay,
okay,
now I'm
let's.
gonna go first. I was just fooling around. So Mario, a SWOT analysis, is it overrated or underrated in business?
SWOT analysis.
SWOT analysis, strength, weakness, opportunity, threats. Is it overrated or underrated?
I think it's underrated. I think it's underrated at some point because this. Uh, I mean, if it all depends of the perspective. I think uh, for me, it's really important. For me, it's essential having a well analyzed SWOT. But I think that maybe people or the professionals don't tend to take this magnificent tool really serious. So perhaps I think that as of current, it's not like on very well used or used smart or intelligently used now. Despite this, give you a lot of very good answers in order to make decisions in your business. But I think it's overrated.
So do you think it's not being used as enough
Exactly.
because people don't quite know how to implement it, or do you think it's more of a being rushed thing? I don't have time for that, so I have to move
Yes,
quicker.
that's because we have the new generations now.
Fast,
Uh,
fast, fast.
exactly, that want to act fast and maybe find other ways. So that's like a little bit of. It all depends on new generation, I think, but that's the main reason of why I think we don't tend to use those tools anymore. So we are like trying to use new, innovative ways to get to the same place.
Okay. For me, okay, I found one. Let's see. Buying a house, overrated or underrated?
That's underrated now. I can tell you because of the same thing now that renting a house, if you make the conversion, I mean financing a house is really costly over the years. So that's one of the reasons why now young people are preferring to rent a house and have the freedom of moving anywhere when they want to do it and leaving all the belongings behind, uh, instead of buying a house that they have to be attached to a debt and they have to pay over 20, 30 years that debt. So it's about freedom. I think now it's about financial freedom. This is a trend, but of course there is a good portion of the population that is still buying house. I mean, for owning a house, to have that feeling that they own something. And I believe that is pretty much only for that, to have that feeling that they own something, because they could live anywhere, to be honest.
So, are you renting in Canada then?
No, I'm not rent. I'm just kidding. No,
No, just
I own my place. I own my
okay,
place
okay.
in Canada,
Okay.
but that's what I'm telling you is like a normal trend
Yeah,
as
yeah,
a current. Yes, because
It is.
all
It
my
is.
friends,
It's true.
all my friends, even other colleagues, entrepreneurs, they rent their homes.
got it.
Yeah,
No, awesome. Mario, thank you for joining us. Yeah, and appreciate you sharing. This was a very, very insightful conversation, especially on the aspects of family business. And I think also, the opportunities that, there are in the United States and Canada and the challenges is there. I think you laid that out very well for us.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
appreciate that.
definitely.
My pleasure.
Uh,
We can talk more about it and specific programs and specific pathways in other podcasts. And you
yeah,
have my
there,
contact. You can
there's
just let me know.
there's so much we haven't touched on yet. Some more fun stuff, but
Yeah.
I think we'll leave it here for this episode. Shanluk, any final thoughts, and then you can close us off.
Thank you so much for
Yeah,
having
I want to thank you as well, Mario. It has been a great social conversation. For me, very exciting to hear about family business, but also, like Diego said, expanding to other countries. I hope we can learn a lot more. The last thing before we close it off, how can people get in touch with Mario?
Oh well, they can add on my social network. I have a Facebook at Marvio Escoto Jr. I will put you in the chat. Perhaps
Ah,
you can see.
Junior.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's
And
exactly because my parent is like Mario Scotto the third, sorry, Mario Scotto Jr. So they can contact me there or uh, through my nonprofit in Canada, which is www.lccei.ca. So they can
okay, we're
contact me.
gonna we're gonna put the first one. So first,
Yeah, exactly. My
Julio
social.
Escoto Jr.
Yeah.
And you can also share your startup or the nonprofit, sorry, in Canada as well in the chat, and we'll shortly bring it on screen as well. So, Mario, thanks again for being our guest. For those of you who are watching or listening, the recording will be uploaded this weekend.
No, no.
Right? No, no, no.
The
It's gonna be
uploadings are
uploaded
kind of
in
buffer.
the in the in the near future.
Yeah.
And of course, as always, before we close it off, the website lccei.com. So give it a visit if you are interested. For those who are listening to the audio recording, lccei.com. That was it for this week's Social Confoes. We'll see you back next week, same place, same time. Bye bye.